Welcome, and thank you for downloading The 8 Biggest Problems, brought to you by Cadence Management Corporation. For over 25 years, Cadence has been helping organizations around the world to make a difference through project management success. Today, Cadence is widely recognized as a leading provider of project management training, consulting services, and supporting tools. Join Cadence President John Patton as interviewed by colleague Scott Allison in this episode of The 8 Biggest Problems.
John, what is the first problem?
Well, Scott, the number one problem in the world today, which causes projects to be late, is that people are just not working on the project and their management doesn't know it.
And what would you consider to be the cause of that problem?
Well, it's called time reporting. There are companies that charge out for their services and they have to report their time. They have to account for what people are working on so they can put that time on the invoice that they send to a customer. In organizations that don't have to account for their time, we see no way for management to find out what people are working on. And that causes the capacity of the organization to be unknown.
Mm-hmm. And what would be then the natural response of the people doing the work in the organization?
Well, there are a couple of responses here. One is a management response, and one is then a practitioner response, the people who are working on projects. When the capacity of the organization is unknown, then the managers in the organization keep authorizing projects. And so we end up having too many projects in the mix. That is, too many projects active at one time. Now, let's assume that people are conscientious. Everybody in an organization wants to do a good job. When people have too much to work on and are conscientious, then they work on everything a little bit. And it just seems like everything in the organization is going too slowly. And you'll get managers making that comment, and you'll get people who are working on the projects making that comment as well. Now, there's another really distressing part of this problem, and people can refer to it as morale. But let's say again that people are conscientious and they do good work. These projects do end, and the result is good. And the clients, internal clients, are happy about the results. But since the project came in late, everybody feels inadequate who worked on the project. And say, yeah, we did a good job, but it came in late. And they're worried about seeing that on their performance reviews.
It sounds like a complex problem. Once a company recognizes this, what do they have to do to rectify this problem?
Well, they've got to report their time, and they've got to report all time worked. It's not as simple as it sounds, because people will need to have a system to collect and report the time in fast enough for people to take action. And then we also have to recognize that this is all time worked that needs to be reported, whether a person is working at the job, whether they're working at home, whether they're working on an airplane or a streetcar or in a train. Anytime you're working on a project, that time needs to be reported because we have to get a handle on the capacity for work in the organization.
So what then would be the major obstacles to implementation?
Let me talk about three. There are some obstacles anytime you make changes, but these are the three major obstacles that I see. Initially, people resist reporting their time because there's fear associated with it, and that's fear of being over-controlled. You'll hear comments like, I'm a professional. I'm paid to get the job done. Why do I have to be reporting my time? And they'll try and make up ridiculous examples for the kind of time they have to report. And that's all really based on fear. So we have to move that off to the reason why we're doing this and saying we're doing this to get control of the projects, not the people. When we control the project effectively, people will have reasonable workloads. So part of selling this to people who are going to be reporting their time, and I recommend that you take this activity of selling the change to the people head on and show them the benefits that will result from reporting their time. And we're talking about organizational benefits and individual benefits. And it needs to be a specific list. Now, the second obstacle really is one that functional managers face, and that is that they're responsible for the accuracy of the data. It's not the project managers who have to see that time reporting gets done properly. It's the functional managers of the team members who are assigned to the project managers. And so theirs is the mission to make sure that people understand that all time worked anywhere must be reported. This time is going to go into a history database, which will be used for estimating the time needed on future projects which are similar. And if people aren't reporting all of their time, then they will be underestimating time needed for future projects. The final obstacle is that project managers in the beginning don't use their reports effectively. There will be some that don't even read them because they don't know how to use them. They're stuck in the older habits of managing a project without these reports, and so they need tutorials. And that's in the weekly in the first 2 months of implementation, where their managers sit down with them and take them through their reports, pointing out problems, teaching them a way to read them quickly, and how to take corrective action based on the data they find, and how to take corrective action in a positive way. Now, the final statement I'd like to make about this, and is really some advice to the organization that decides to implement time reporting. It's a process of continuous improvement, and it takes time. There's some defaults that you can set up the system with regard in the beginning, with regard to availability of people. Are we going to load at 80% availability? Are we going to load at 85% availability? And you'll set up those defaults. But each organization has its own characteristics, and the time reporting system needs to be fine-tuned. And after a 2 and sometimes even a 3-year period, then it will be running very well for the organization that's implemented it.
Thank you for listening to the 8 Biggest Problems. For more information on this series or on Cadence Management Corporation training and support for your projects, visit Cadence on the web at www.cadencemc.com. All the tools mentioned in this series are available to download for free. This and all Cadence podcasts are available for free in the iTunes Store. Download iTunes today at www.apple.com/iTunes. Join us next week for the next episode of the 8 Biggest Problems from Cadence Management Corporation. Thank you, and we wish you only the greatest project success.